Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another version. I believe this is episode 18 of the Lawrence History Project. My name is Mark Palermo. With me are my colleagues Tom Delisle, who is a first-rate master photographer, Tom. And I'm not laying it on here. You've got to see Tom's stuff. Tom doesn't just take pictures of Lawrence. He's got a whole bunch of stuff, really, of Southern Europe. Amazing museum quality stuff, especially Spain, especially Greece. So Tom, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And with us also is our frequent guest, Mr. Joe Bella. Joe Bella is a Lawrence historian. And I don't know what to add to that. This is, you should see Joe's house. Joe's house is an absolute museum, and Joe's dedicated his life to as a historian. So valuable. Chronicler of events, Lawrence, and Methuen too. So today we're going to be looking back in history at the Great Strike, the Lawrence Strike of 1912. And, you know, Joe, you were telling me a little earlier, just before the program, about what the old-timers used to think. You remember the old-timers? You know?
Right.
Really, the history had to be rediscovered. It happened, and then it got forgotten. And what were you telling me about the old-timers?
Well, originally, they never talked about the strike much.
They didn't.
The later years, and like their grandchildren and children, they never talked about the strike at all, primarily. And then during the late 60s, 70s, the term bread and roses was applied to that particular strike of 1912. And then some of the old-timers who were alive then, you know, at the time, they would say, well, this has nothing to do with the strike, that term, bread and roses. To them, it was not appropriate to some of them. And not all, but some of them didn't see the connection at all.
I would ask old-timers, and they would say, oh, they're just a bunch of bums and commies and losers. They come in to rabble-rouse the city, and they got rid of them. But it was much more than really.
More than that.
Yeah, a lot more.
Bums and commies.
IWW.
There's so much of it.
Some people would tease, IWW means I won't work.
That's typical.
It was really the International Workers of the World was the correct title.
Well, let's get into it. Let's see our first picture. Here's the guy. Do you recognize this?
Yeah.
Mr. William Wood. And boy, they dumped everything. They dumped everything on him. They laid the blame on him for everything.
Yeah.
Mr. William Wood, he was the owner of the wood mill.
Yeah, American Woolen Company.
Yeah, American Woolen Company.
He started as a clerk.
Yeah, he started out poor. He's Portuguese.
Yeah.
Right.
He wasn't a Yankee like a lot of them.
No.
They're Portuguese.
Yeah.
But he eventually became what is now known as a turnaround expert. In other words, if you have a failing, you know, by the 20s, there was a lot of competition. Some of the mills were failing. So we'd call him in. And he was a turner. He would start cutting costs, laying people off, looking at more efficient ways of doing things. Not a pretty thankless job, except if you're a shareholder. But he did not end his life very well. He took his own life. Is that true? I understand he took his own life at the end.
Yeah.
They laid everything on him. You know, the stockholders that were pushing him, the newspapers. It became it's kind of like Lyndon Johnson. Remember the wise men? They ought to go ahead, Lyndon, Blom. We'll be out in 3 months. Don't worry. The Vietnam War. Don't worry. Just go ahead and bomb them, Lyndon. You know, don't worry. We're in control. We know all about this. So we did. And then when it turned out badly, they dumped it on him. It became Lyndon's War. And
the fall guy.
Every night he went to sleep. He's got
guy.
10,000 kids outside his window. Hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? It was his war.
Yeah.
And he was drinking 2 quarts of cutty sock, they say. 2 quarts of cutty sock a day, and about 4 packs of cigarettes at the end.
Wow.
Lyndon's War. Well, this was William Wood's war. We'll see. There's much more nuance than that. He wasn't blameless, but I think it's, as I say, more nuanced. Here it is, the IWW.
Yeah.
marching down Essex Street, and look at the line of them. Boy.
That's Common Street.
Oh, is it Common Street? Look
That's
at that.
Common, yeah. Looking east.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Common and Lawrence Street.
Yeah.
They connect. Lawrence Street goes right to left.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Wow.
Lawrence Street. But that's the.
They had had enough
Yeah.
of being treated like animals, and we'll soon find out why when we have these pictures, and you'll be able to figure out why. The IWW, were they communist? Yes, they were. They definitely were. But there's a but there. I think we can explain a little further here. This is how ugly
Famous
it got.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bayonets. Bayonets. They came out in full force. I mean, the strikers are only asking 2 hours reduction in a 56-hour work week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what they get. For 56 hours, they want to go down to 54. And this is what they got.
And they did go down to 54, but
Yeah.
they sped up the machines. So the production, they had to work faster. So the production was the same.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
yeah.
they said in the long run, they didn't really gain anything.
No.
That's what I heard. I heard somebody emailed me in other cities they were going down to the 54-week work week anyway. So it's a Pyrrhic victory, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it counts as a victory anyway in history. But I don't know the reality of how much they gained. And here we are again,
Yeah.
strikers facing off with bayonets. One of the mill owners was the governor of Massachusetts. I guess he didn't see any conflict of interest, calling the bayonets militia
Yeah.
to protect his own business interests.
In the militia, they were. Some of them were Harvard students.
The Harvard boys, yeah.
Yeah. They were students.
Football players and everything, and wrestlers.
Yeah.
Oh, it got so nasty and dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see even got dirtier than this. And this is what everybody wanted, and eventually got 5-day work week.
Yeah.
Right to organize, shorter hours, collective bargaining, abolition of child labor. That was a big one. Higher wages, Social Security. But that was hard won. That didn't just come by itself. You know, I know all the arguments against unions. I understand them. I have some of them myself. But I was union member for like 40 years. I was a vice president of my local.
Wow.
So it was unions that brought this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know they were guilty of plenty of excesses, especially after they got infiltrated by organized crime. And here we are. This is the 20s, actually. This wasn't the 1912s. The 1920s. There's some kind. I got this from the archives. Some kind of gathering.
It was a strike in 1919 also, right?
1919.
Oh, there was continued strikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until the mill owners got fed up with it. They said, "Why should we put up with this? Paying them higher wages
Yeah.
when we go down south."
And that's where they went.
That's what they did. And then
Yeah.
once they got sick of them down south, they went overseas. That's the textile industry. They're always
Yeah.
looking for cheap labor. It thrives on cheap labor.
Right.
Nobody wants their kids to be a textile worker. It's not a job you pass down to your kids. And so it's good for one generation or two, but that's about it. And then they move on. God only knows where they are now, probably in Bangladesh or someplace. People working for $5 a day,
I know
if at all.
Yeah.
The picture. The
yeah.
strikers used to walk down the street arm in arm,
Yeah.
and that was a custom of theirs. They really had a lot of solidarity. It's I don't think unions have that kind of solidarity nowadays. We live in an age of individuality. They probably have to sometime. People are going to have to get together. There's always a struggle between the rich and poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, groups of them sometimes would go arm in arm, especially women, arm in arm
Yeah.
down the street, and they would sing their songs. But they were definitely inspired by the communists, which there was another group in town didn't like that very much. And we'll see a little bit of that. Next, please. I think we have some photos. Is Massachusetts in America? Military law declared. Habeas corpus denied. Free speech. Free assemblage. Unlawful seizure of persons. Unwarranted seizure of homes. Wow. Right to bear arms question. Mill owners resort to dynamite violence. Wow.
Heavy-handed.
Oh boy, yeah. All over 2-hour reduction in hours. Now, you'll notice child labor. Look at the kid on the right. Could be more than 7 or 8 years old.
So young.
Yeah. Look at these kids.
Some of these, too, they'd bring the lunch boxes to the parents when they were on their break.
Look at the fourth one for the right. He's got the face of a man. He's probably 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable. You know, I took down I had some figures. The average longevity, this is a doctor from Lawrence, Elizabeth Shapley, back during that time. She's from Lawrence. And she took some statistics, the average longevity of the mill workers. And she conducted her own survey from 1903 to 1911. Lawyers lived to the age of 65 on average. Clergymen lived till 65. Manufacturers, shouldn't define that, but probably just mill owners and administrators, 58. And operatives, 39.6 years. So that's the average age.
Yikes.
And I have some, she took some other figures. This is amazing. At the time of the strike, Lawrence had a population of 85,000, and half of them over the age of 14 worked in the mills. And this is what's really striking. He tells you what hellholes these places were. Of every 100, 30% of every 100 deaths in Lawrence, people die before 25.
Wow.
And 52% of mill workers die 52% die before 35. So this is working them to death.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see that in other countries. I was in Costa Rica about 10 years ago with my family, and we visited a banana plantation. Oh my God, I'll never, ever, it's the same thing as this. I'll never eat another banana without thinking of those poor people, the way they work them. And you never see people over 35 working banana, because it's so hard. Brutal, brutal. It's really, really amazing. Strikers march mills, battle with officers. Okay, and the next one I think is a really good one here. Police club mill rioters who strike for more pay. So over 2 hours reduction in pay. Imagine just clubbing them and bayoneting them. New trouble expected. Wow, okay. Now, this is a counter-protest. The same year, remember, the IWW were communists. For God and country. A protest against the IWW, red flag forever, its principles and methods never, okay? Don't see many people marching in this parade.
No.
Is that just a banner or is that the parade? 2 people. But
in the 60s, they had the God and Country.
Yes, now we marched in it. Remember 1962? I didn't know. I thought we were marching in favor of the strikers and winning the bread. We were marching to commemorate Father O'Reilly's protest against the IWW.
Right.
Now, you know what? They were commies, okay. But remember, this is 1912. This is before a lot of really good people. They believed in the lies of communism. We're going to share the wealth. There's not going to be any more billionaires and people starving paupers like there was. They saw it in equalization of. This was before Stalin. The news came out of Stalin's.
Right.
Stalin's show trial. He starved 5 million kulaks, or Ukrainians. Stalin's crimes, and then everybody went in line. We don't want that. This is before that. Okay, people were very idealistic, and they saw communism. Some very good people saw communism as a way to level the playing ground.
Elizabeth Gurley Flynn was one of them.
Yeah.
And she came to speak in Lawrence.
So when people say there were a lot of bums and losers and commies, you don't realize this was before Stalin.
Yeah.
Before this stuff came out. Even the New York Times, they had a guy, Delisle or something. I think they had a guy in the New York. Don't forget, Stalin even was Man of the Year in Time magazine. Even the United States, the press was pushing him. And they had a guy, Delahanty, I forget who his name was, writing for the New York Times, talking about how wonderful Stalin was. Wonderful. The reforms and everything. And then right after he started writing, some of the other, he was the leading war correspondent in the United States, was saying, everything's great, don't worry. Stalin is modernizing the country, people love him. And there were some other reporters, not quite so prominent, would go over there and say, wait a minute, it's not what we're hearing. And he responded, a famous response from this guy, I wish I had the name, is Delahunt or Delante or something like that. Famous response was, well, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs.
7 million eggs.
Yeah, 7 million Ukrainians starved to death. And plus the show trials, the Red Terror. And then at the end, Stalin got so paranoid, he started killing his own officers. And crazy.
And that was on the heels of the Gilded Age, the robber barons. You know, when everybody had the money. You know, nothing happens in a vacuum. So communism.
Oh yeah, I think any reasonable person would have been a communist back then. Given the information you had to work with at the time. Of course, now, I mean, myself, it's not something I would ascribe to. I see it. Well, anyway, before we go down the rabbit hole with politics, let's have the next one, please. Here again, the God and Country parade. Okay. Showing the patriotism, you know, we're against the IWW. I think the mill owners, maybe it wasn't just the 2 hours reduction, it was unionization. That would have been the beginning of unions.
Right.
And they didn't like that. I mean, even around the world, in, you know, third world countries, they do the same thing today. Bayonets and killings, disappearances and stuff. Anna Lopizzo.
I read an article in the newspaper after she was, you know, killed, and that she had lived on Pine Street in Methuen before she went to Lawrence. And she probably should have stayed in Methuen.
Was she about 14 or 18?
It says there on her gravestone, she's 34.
30, okay.
Yeah, age 30, 50, no, 34. Yeah, she was 34. But she had lived originally at Pine Street in Methuen.
Oh, yeah. I went to, they had a 100th, just a little brief prayer service, the 100th anniversary on January 29th, 2012. I went there with my son. It was a nice little service, just said a few prayers. So she was shot. She got shot.
They still don't know who did it, though.
Oh, yeah, next, please. I think I get into that. Bullet kills woman. The officer didn't kill her. No. The bullet killed her. This was...
Right.
It's still a mystery, though. No one knows.
Officer Brunoy stabbed. Why was he stabbed? Bullet kills woman. Obviously, somebody shot her.
Somebody, yeah.
And the police officer got stabbed. Did Officer Benoit shoot her?
I know. Who knows?
Isn't that funny? But how do they have the brazen... how to say bullet kills woman?
Alec Baldwin's using that line today.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work. It did. I don't think it worked then. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't kill her. He didn't kill a woman. The bullet killed her. He didn't even pull the trigger. It's gunfire.
My hand was on the outside of the trigger guard. That's impossible. No.
All right. Next, please. Jonas Smolkas.
Yeah.
Born in Lithuania. This is really tragic.
Yeah.
The next we got he's only a kid. He's 1885. He's 17 years old. Born in 1885. 15. Yeah. He was a little older than that. Yeah. And the next picture here, I found a picture of him. Just a kid.
What's his story?
His story was Father O'Reilly sent everybody out the Bread and Roses Parade and told them wear their American flag pins. And young Jonas was caught wearing an IWW pin, and they beat him to death.
Whoa!
For wearing an IWW pin. So much for, I don't know about God and country. I don't know where God fits in, but you have to kill a kid for wearing a pin.
Yeah.
Wearing an IWW pin, he's beaten to death. Totally disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the third one. There were three.
Yeah.
John Ramey. Born in Fallujah, Lebanon, 1895 killed January 3rd. Now, he's only 17 years old, imagine.
Wow.
And you know his story. I looked it up this morning before we came here.
Mm-hmm.
This is so tragic. They were, I guess the militia forbade people to meet more than 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they were having a band playing. The band was playing music. And he took his trumpet out. He was playing with the music. And the militia came. And they formed a line of bayonets. And they charged them all. And somebody stuck him with a bayonet.
Yeah.
And he bled out and he died the same day.
I read that too.
Yeah. 17-year-old kid.
Yeah. So much
Which enraged, more God and country. I don't know what kind of God.
Bayonet kills kid.
Yeah. Bayonet. Yeah.
So much for the militia then.
Yeah. And of course, I don't think they ever found the militiaman that did it.
No.
So as you say, Tom, bayonet kills kid. Next, please. Now, this is a union, 1948. I got this from the archives. They finally got what they wanted, but by 1948, all the mills had left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So again, another Pyrrhic victory, but they did pave the way for unionism.
Mm-hmm.
With the good and bad that comes with unionism, they did pave the way. And it's Lawrence. They were at Holy Cross in Worcester. At some kind of labor meeting. Yeah. So obviously a labor union.
Mm.
Next. Now here's a monument. It's in the Common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It says, can you read it? It says Lawrence Strike of 1912. It's a bronze monument. It's still in the Common, I understand. Was it you, Tom, that told me, or did I read it somewhere?
You might have.
Mr. Jonas Smolskas had something to do with this?
Stunza.
Mr. Jonas Smolskas?
Jonas Stunza?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Jonas Stunza. Jonas Smolskas is the one that got killed in this strike. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mr. Jonas Stunza had something to do with the placement of that.
A friend of his with them, David.
Yeah.
They used to be a teacher at Lawrence High School. David, I can't think of his grandfather was a mayor too.
Well,
David.
Jonas, if you're watching this, please, let us know maybe. Again, it's Lawrence History Project at gmail.com. Just one word, Lawrence History Project at gmail.com. If anybody knows anything about anything we're missing or can fill in more details.
Someone told me, I think it was Hank Pangione, great guy, just passed away a few weeks ago, that he had a relative that worked in the mills, and there was so much fabric in the air that contributed to the lungs, inhaling the lungs and short lifespan. His aunt would wrap the sandwich in wax paper, one layer of wax, a second layer of wax paper,
oh my God,
and another, like a face cloth over that.
Yeah. Because
there was so many fabrics in. You were eating the fabric, but it needed triple layers.
Dr. Shapley addressed that. And she did a report on the mills. She was from Lawrence, and she said that there was all kinds of particulate in the air,
right?
And people would breathe it in, and there had to be a controlled humidity. And she said, I just saw this morning. She has a very interesting report. It's online. It's Dr. Elizabeth Shapley's report on Lawrence, Massachusetts millwork. You can Google it. You can find it if you're really interested in that thing. But she said, they had to control the humidity.
Right.
And she said sometimes they would shoot steam right into the room. And she says in summertime, the temperatures can be 130 degrees. And they had to control the humidity. And dust was a constant problem. And she pressed them for more ventilation. So they were unventilated. Can you imagine? So yeah, it was a big problem.
There was a classic novel in the 80s, I think, called The Darkness Light, about the mill girls in Lowell.
Oh yeah.
But that's an eye opener.
I got to read.
Well written.
I got to read that. My parents both worked in the mills. My mother worked in the boot mill in Lowell, Boots Mill, and that was the guy's name, Boot. It's not that they were manufacturing boots. That was the name, Boot, the boot mill. And my father worked in the Pacific Mill. He told me, he said, I was glad when the war began. He said, I was actually happy to go to war. It was so boring. It's just, I felt I was just wasting my whole life away. It was 6 days a week. You'd work 10 hours, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours a day, and you'd have them come in on Saturday mornings. So you didn't have any life.
Yeah.
So yeah, he said,
All my sold to the company store.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah. Oh my God.
I had a great aunt who worked at the Everett mill the day of the strike, the first day. She was almost 5 months pregnant. Wow. So as soon as the strikers came through, everybody go home. Geez, perfect, I'll have my baby at home.
Yeah.
Well, that worked out good.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no money coming in, too. That's another thing to worry about. Do we have another one here, Cassie? I think we're coming to the end. Yeah, this was what it was.
Yeah.
They wanted shorter hours. Yeah, they wanted short hours. And they got them, but as you say, they speeded up the machines, got more production out of them. And William Wood, just like Lyndon Johnson, Vietnam became Johnson's War, this became William Wood's downfall. And despite all his wealth, I'm told he took his own life. Is that true? He took his own life at the end.
Because he lost a son too during the war. He lost
terrible.
One of his sons.
As the Bible tells us, the rain falls on everyone, rich and poor.
Yeah.
And having all that money doesn't make you immune to real human problems. So I guess that's it, guys. I think my wife, Esther, is cooking up sausage and beans for us. This is what we old guys do, by the way, when we leave here. Esther, God bless her soul, she cooks up a nice meal for us.
She's a great cook.
Oh, she is. And for you guys, she's cooking special.
Wow.
Sausage and beans, salad right from the garden. And she told me, she said, and she says, Tom likes his coffee with cream, so don't come back here without cream. I had to stop and buy some cream for Tom's coffee, or else I'm going to hear it for her.
Oh, I could go black. I can go black.
No, you don't have to worry about it. I bought the.
You bought it?
I bought the cream. Anyway, we love you. We love our viewers. Wish you could all join us at my house for a nice lunch, but it's impossible, obviously. But be grateful, be kind, and from myself, host, you guys anything to add to that?
No.
Have a great 4th of July, everyone.
Yeah. We'll be back.
A few more before the summer's over.
Oh, yeah. We want to get these down, when you're 75, you don't, when you're in your 70s, you don't plan so much for the future. George Burns was asked about that. George, how much planning for the future do you do? He says, at my age, you don't even buy green bananas. So we got it all in. We got 18 episodes on tape, and we're going to keep going with it. So bye-bye, everybody. Be well.
Be well.
Be well.